Hey guys, Doble here. Andres from Doble Sports. Just wanted to do a quick reaction video to the Nations League semifinal matchup. I just finished watching both games, but I do want to do a quick reaction video to the semifinal matchup for the U.S. national team and whatever the shitfuck performance and play calling that was from Greg Berhalter and this team. I mean, this performance was abysmal from beginning to end, and if it weren't for the own goal on the very last play of the regulation 90 minutes, the U.S. would have suffered arguably their worst loss in years. Not even a full minute into the game, Joe Scally was caught sleeping on the job, and Jamaica's Greg Lay scored with the header into the back of the net off the assist by Bobby the Cordova Reed. And for pretty much the entire 90 minutes, Jamaica was able to play strong defensively and hold their own as the U.S. national team really underperformed offensively once again. The U.S. in truth did not deserve to win this game. They didn't win it outright. They got lucky. They were saved by an own goal in the last play, where they even had their own goalkeeper push up as an extra man in the box area, just out of desperation. It took them 90 minutes and with luck just to get to overtime. And then the players themselves, the players themselves finally adjusted on their own, and we saw the true strength and talent that the U.S. national team and its roster has. Where obviously in the extra time, they scored 2 more goals. They won 3-1 and advanced on in what is really honestly very ugly fashion. So here are the grades for the Americans in this game and for their performance. Goalkeeper, D. Matt Turner absolutely ate it on the goal in the first minute. It was a header that went directly at him and was able to get 2 hands on and yet still couldn't save it. Yeah, he brought Nottingham Forest's poor form to the U.S. national team this week, and that's worrying. Center backs, B. They didn't make major blunders. I'll give them that. Like the next 2 players we'll talk about. But they also didn't light the world on fire. They screamed mid-tier all game long, and that's what happens when you put an MLS player as a starting center back and leave Mark McKenzie, a starting player in Belgium for a competitive European team in Genk, on the bench and give him no playing time. It's almost as if the MLS is a weak league consisting of players that should not be starters for the national team. Yeah. Like the MLS, you'll look mediocre to mid-tier at best when you start MLS players. But Greg Berhalter forgot that and started Robinson over McKenzie. And yeah, the center backs looked very mid. We'll get to the bigger issue later, as the players who started in the center back position grows into something bigger. Defensive wing backs, also known as fullbacks, depending on how you call them. D-. Serginho Dest couldn't play today due to suspension for his red card in the quarterfinals. So Joe Scally and Anthony Robinson were the right and left backs in this game. Anthony Robinson played the full game with a tackle won and 89 accurate passes. He had a decent game. Joe Scally, on the other hand, was damn near the reason the U.S. would have lost this game. In the first minute, he didn't cover his marked player, practically sleeping on the job, and Jamaica scored in the very first minute of the game. Rightfully so, he was subbed off at the start of the second half. Midfield. The midfield played, well, mid. They played mid. So C+ grade. They only had 5 shots total in the 90 minutes of regulation, but Gio Reyna, when he came in as a sub, made an instant positive impact. With 2 assists let me correct myself there. He did make a positive impact and was the best player in the midfield. 2 assists in the 75 minutes he played. He saved the grade for the midfield today, as he was their best player in that portion of the lineup. I do wonder if despite all sides claiming that the feud was over, I still wonder if Berhalter still secretly holds a grudge against Reyna for the quote-unquote poor attitude at the World Cup and scandal between the Reyna family, and for that reason remains reluctant to start Gio Reyna. Because while Reyna's club team isn't in great form, it is still clear Reyna is one of the best midfielders the US has, and he should be starting. Him not starting felt like Reyna is getting snubbed in some sort of way. Offense. Both the forwards and wingers, so I'm combining both. C+. Offensively, the US was not productive at all in this game. They weren't. Tim Weah and Folarin Balogun both played 62 minutes and only had a combined total of 4 shots between them. 2 shots attempted each. Pulisic played the full match but only had 4 shots total. They underperformed and struggled under this playing style and system. I'll say the same thing for Ricardo Pepi, who has been great for PSV, but in this game, he only had 2 shots in his 57 minutes on the field. Fortunately, Haji Wright, who came in as a substitute forward, stepped up with the help of Gio Reyna and scored the 2 goals in OT that punched the US ticket to the CONCACAF Nations League final this Sunday. Coaching. F. Greg Berhalter is dead weight to this national team. His system and style of play is not only underperforming and bad, it's holding this potential golden generation the US has with a lot of European talent back. Despite the clear struggles and woes, Berhalter continues to line up the forwards flat with no staggering and press against the opposing back line while having only one single midfielder, and instead of trying to produce anything offensively by passes on the ground to the playmakers up front, just telling your players to spam as many crosses and long balls into the box area as possible. With on top of that, a 3-man flat-footed back line. Under Berhalter football, the ball goes from the center back to the winger, then back to the fullback in between, which is kind of like overlapping, then crossing, crossing it back and forth in the backfield, then crossing the ball into the box area, and if no cross is possible, then just recycle the ball to the center back and start it all over again. It's a U-shaped offensive attack that frankly cannot penetrate into the box area for shit in the middle. Under Berhalter, the US has no strong or productive offense. Weak MLS players starting instead of European talent that's playing clearly better than the MLS players on the roster, and then deciding to call up and play a player who has just barely fully recovered from an injury in Tyler Adams, who came in as a sub, contributed absolutely fuck all, and then being subbed out just 37 minutes later. So he didn't even play a full half of football. Tyler Adams himself admitted that because he's just coming off an injury, that he would at best be able to play 60 minutes. But suggested that it was likely he would play much less, as the team would be better with someone who could play 100% and was healthy. But there he was, with Berhalter still putting him in on the field, and to the surprise of absolutely nobody, he played badly. Playing Tyler Adams in this game and just calling him up for this week in general was a terrible idea by Berhalter, and Adams himself knew it. And the players looked frustrated with more of the same, the lack of adjustments and poor coaching and strategy decisions. I mean, there was a moment where in the broadcast while watching the game, when Tyler Adams was subbed off, Greg tried to give him, the old teammate handshake, hey, good job, go to the bench, the good old handshake, pat on the back. And Tyler Adams tried to walk by him and refused to shake Greg's hand or really acknowledge him. A clear sign of disrespect from Adams. Greg and Tyler got into a little bit of a heated moment on the sideline that was briefly for a couple of 2 to 3 seconds shown during the game. There were also moments when where it appeared he was trying to coach the players in overtime, and it looked like they were ignoring him, as at least in the Spanish airing of the game on TUDN, Televisa, Univision, Deportes, he looked to have been trying to repeat instructions to the players in a very annoyed manner, and it looks like they weren't listening to him. It is clear things are beginning to boil over for the U.S. national team, and it looks like Greg Berhalter is losing the locker room. That is assuming he hasn't lost it already. The U.S. Federation needs to address this, as this will not get better, and we have seen that Greg Berhalter is the exact same coach that we thought he was. Underwhelming, can't make the right adjustments, and in some cases not willing to adapt, playing MLS players when they have no business being there, calling up injured players or some that are recovering, and then of course a Serginho Dest who can only contribute half as much because he struggles with on-field self-discipline and control, which is what got him suspended for the semifinals matchup, because he got red carded against Trinidad and Tobago for arguing with the ref and saying shit that he really shouldn't have said. That is certified Greg Berhalter football. Greg Berhalter needs to go. They need to fire him, regardless of whether they win the final or not. And it's very possible that the U.S. will lose to Mexico. The U.S. had to rely on an own goal just to keep their hopes of advancing in overtime alive. Meanwhile, Mexico looked in form and thrashed Panama 3-0, looking like the best of the Final Four teams today. If the U.S. plays like they did today against Jamaica, and Greg Berhalter comes in with the same strategies, Mexico will win, and the U.S., well, you got Berhaltered. These performances against Jamaica, plus the loss to Trinidad and Tobago, and his poor playing system should have him fired. Fired. And it should be worrying entering the final on Sunday, and as well as the Copa America in the summer. It makes me wonder if some USA fans will root for and want Mexico to win this Sunday, like Chargers fans in the NFL rooting for the Raiders in the 60-point blowout. I mean, at this point, whatever it takes to get Berhalter fired, right? We'll see.